and welcome to Myth Matters, an exploration at the intersection of mythology, creativity, and consciousness. I'm your host, Dr. Catherine Svela. Wherever you may be in this wide, beautiful, crazy world of ours, I'm glad that you decided to join me here today. This is episode number 3 in a 4-part series on the Sumerian myth of the goddess Inanna, Queen of Heaven and Earth. We've looked at the myths of Inanna's first days and the acquisition of her powers, and the courtship between Inanna and her lover, then husband, the shepherd Dumuzi. Today, I'll tell you the story of Inanna's descent to the Underworld. Once again, my primary source is Inanna, Queen of Heaven and Earth by Diane Wolkstein and Samuel Noah Kramer. I have some thoughts about the value of this myth for us in this time, but for now I invite you to relax and listen to the story. Let the words take you where you need to go, and note the details that call to you or the questions that arise. They are clues to your concerns and the place this story occupies in your life right now. The Descent of Inanna. From the great above, Inanna opened her ear to the great below. She turned her ear to the ground. Inanna considered her great cities and temples. She decided to abandon them all to descend to the underworld. Inanna abandoned heaven and earth to descend to the underworld. The goddess gathered the 7 May, her powers. She placed her crown on her head and arranged her hair. She placed her string of small lapis beads around her neck, followed by her double strand of beads. She put on her breastplate, slipped her gold ring over her wrist, and dressed in her white robe. She took the lapis, rod, and measuring line in her hand. She was Inanna. She was ready. Inanna set out for the underworld, and Ninshebur, her faithful advisor and friend, goddess of the East, walked with her. As they walked, Inanna told Ninshebur of her plans. Ninshebur, my constant support, who gives me wise advice, I am descending to the underworld, she said. If I do not return in 3 days, go to the gods for help. Set up a great lamentation. Beat the drums, tear at your hair, and dress like a beggar. Go first to Father Onli, god of the air, Inanna instructed, and cry out that he must not let his daughter be put to death in the underworld. And if Onli will not help you, go to my father Nanna, god of the moon. Weep before Father Nanna. If he will not help you, go to Enki, god of wisdom. Enki knows the water and food of life. Surely he won't let me die. Ninshebur agreed to do all of this. They parted ways. Inanna continued on her way to the underworld. When Inanna arrived at the outer gates of the underworld, she called out and knocked loudly to rouse Nettie the gatekeeper. "Open the door, Nettie," she cried. "I alone would enter." But Nettie shrugged and asked, "Who are you?" "I am Inanna, Queen of Heaven, on my way to the east," she answered. "If you are truly Inanna," said Nettie, "then what are you doing down here? Why has your heart led you down the road from which no traveler returns?" "Because of my older sister, Erishkigal," Inanna replied. "I know that her husband, Gugliana, the bull of heaven, has died. I've come to witness the funeral rites." "Stay here, Inanna," Nettie said. "I will speak to my queen and give her your message." Neti kept Inanna waiting outside the gate while he went to his queen, Erishkigal, to see what she wanted to do. "Your sister is here at the gate," he reported. "She has gathered the 7 May and prepared herself with them." Erishkigal bit her lip and thought about this. "Bolt each one of my 7 gates," she finally said. "But let her in. One by one. Open each gate only a crack, and strip her of her finery piece by piece at each one of my gates. Let the holy priestess of heaven enter bowed low." Neti obeyed the words of his queen. He bolted each of the 7 gates. Then he opened the outer gate and said to Inanna, "Enter." When she stepped through the first gate, the crown of the step was removed from her head. "What is this?" asked Inanna. "Be quiet, Inanna," she was told. "The ways of the underworld are perfect and may not be questioned." When Inanna entered the second gate, her string of small lapis beads was removed. Again, she objected, questioned. Again, she was told, "Be quiet, Inanna. The ways of the underworld are perfect and may not be questioned." This action was repeated at each gate. Inanna's double strand of beads was taken from her. Her breastplate, her gold ring, the lapis rod and line used to weigh and measure, all were removed one by one. At the 7th gate, Inanna's holy robe was taken. She entered Erishkigal's throne room naked and bowed low. Erishkigal rose from her throne. Inanna started towards the throne. The judges of the underworld murmured and passed judgment upon her. Then Erishkigal fastened on Inanna the eye of death. She spoke against her the word of wrath. She uttered against her the cry of guilt. Erishkigal struck her. Inanna was turned into a corpse, a piece of rotting meat. She was hung from a hook on the wall. 3 days and 3 nights passed, and Inanna did not return. Ninshubur set up a great lamentation. She beat the drums and tore at her hair. Dressed like a beggar, she went to the house of Onli, the god of the air and father to all, just as Inanna had instructed. When she entered, she cried out, "Oh, Father Onli, your daughter Inanna is trapped in the underworld. Surely you will not let your bright silver be covered with dust. Surely you will not let your lapis be broken into small pieces for the stone cutter. Surely you will not let your fragrant boxwood be cut up for use by the woodworker. Do not let Inanna, the goddess of heaven and earth, be put to death in the underworld." Onli replied angrily, "My daughter Inanna craved the power of heaven and earth, and she got it. Now Inanna has decided to go to the underworld. Well, she who receives the May of the underworld does not return. She who goes to the dark city stays there." Father Onli would not help. Next, Ninshubur went to the house of Nanna, the moon god. He was Inanna's father. Ninshubur entreated Nanna. She said, "Oh, Father Nanna, your daughter Inanna is trapped in the underworld. Surely you will not let your bright silver be covered with dust. Surely you will not let your lapis be broken into small pieces for the stone cutter. Surely you will not let your fragrant boxwood be cut up for use by the woodworker. Do not let Inanna, the goddess of heaven and earth, be put to death in the underworld. Inanna answered angrily, "My daughter Inanna, she craved the power of heaven and earth, and she got it. Now Inanna has decided to go to the underworld. Well, she who receives the May of the underworld does not return. She who goes to the dark city stays there." Father Inanna would not help. Now Ninjabur went to the house of Enki, god of wisdom, Inanna's grandfather. When Ninjabur saw Enki, she cried out, "Oh, Father Enki, your daughter Inanna is trapped in the underworld. Surely you will not let your bright silver be covered with dust? Surely you will not let your lapis be broken into small pieces for the stonecutter? Surely you will not let your fragrant boxwood be cut up for use by the woodworker? Do not let Inanna, the goddess of heaven and earth, be put to death in the underworld." And Father Enki said, "What? What has happened? What has my daughter done? Inanna is trapped in the underworld? I am grieved. Inanna, the goddess of heaven and earth, cannot be left to die in the underworld." Enki could make many creatures, and he knew something about the underworld. He had attempted to go there himself a long, long time ago. Enki scraped some dirt out from under his fingernails. From this dirt he molded two very small creatures, a Kugara and a Galatur. They were neither male nor female. Enki gave them the water of life and the food of life, and these instructions: "Go to the underworld. Enter like flies through the cracks in the gates. Look for Ereshkigal in her throne room. She will be moaning like a woman giving birth. Her clothes will be in disarray. Her hair will be matted. When she cries out, 'Oh, my insides, my insides,' you will also say, 'Oh, your insides, your insides.' When she cries out, 'Oh, my outsides, my outsides,' you will also cry, 'Oh, your outsides, your outsides.' Ereshkigal will be pleased. She will offer you a gift, but don't take anything she offers. Just ask for the corpse on the wall. One of you will sprinkle the food of life on it. One of you will sprinkle the water of life. Inanna will rise." The Kugara and the Galatur set out for the underworld. Like flies, they slipped through the cracks in the gates and made their way to Ereshkigal in her throne room. She was moaning like a woman giving birth. Her clothes were in disarray and her hair was matted. Ereshkigal cried out, "Oh, my insides, my insides!" The Kugara and the Galatur cried out, "Oh, your insides, your insides!" Ereshkigal cried out, "Oh, my outsides, my outsides!" They also cried out, "Oh, your outsides, your outsides!" Ereshkigal moaned, "Oh, my back, my back!" "Oh, your back, they moaned. "Oh, my liver, Ereshkigal groaned. "Oh, your liver, they groaned. The queen of the underworld stopped. Ereshkigal looked at them. "Who are you?" she asked, moaning, groaning, sighing with me. "If you are gods, I will bless you. If you are mortals, I will give you a gift. I will give you the water of life." The Kugara and the Galatur answered, "We do not wish it." "No," said Ereshkigal. "Then I will give you the grain gift, the staff of life." "No," they said, "we do not wish it." What do you wish? Ereshkigal said. We wish only the corpse that hangs from the hook on the wall, they said. Ereshkigal said, the corpse belongs to Inanna. They said, whether it belongs to our queen or to our king, that is what we wish. The corpse was given to them. The Kugara and the Galator sprinkled the corpse with the water and food of life. Inanna arose. But as Inanna was about to ascend from the underworld, the judges and demons of the underworld seized her. They gathered around their queen. No one leaves the underworld unmarked, they said. If Inanna wishes to return, she must provide someone to take her place. The Gala, that is the demons of the underworld, swarmed around Inanna. The Gala have no feeling and no family. They care for nothing that matters to the living. Big and small, the Gala walked with Inanna. They ascended with her from the underworld. The first person they met was Ninshubur. Ninshubur waited outside the palace gates, dressed in dirty sackcloth. When she saw Inanna, she rushed to greet her and threw herself in the dust at Inanna's feet. The demons swirled around them. Walk on, Inanna. We'll take Ninshubur, they said. No, said Inanna. Ninshubur is my loyal friend and trusted advisor. She did not forget my words. Because of her, my life was saved. You cannot take Ninshubur. Very well, the Gala said. We'll walk on further with you. Inanna walked past one of her holy shrines. Her son Shara was there praying for her safe return. Shara, dressed in dirty sackcloth, ran to greet Inanna. He saw the Gala and threw himself in the dust at Inanna's feet. The demons swirled around them. Walk on, Inanna, they said. We'll take Shara. No, said Inanna. Shara is my son who sings to me and combs my hair. You cannot take Shara. Very well, the Gala said. We'll walk on further with you. Now Inanna walked past another of her holy shrines. Her son Lulala was there praying for her safe return. Lual was dressed in dirty sackcloth, and he too ran to greet Inanna. He saw the Gala and threw himself in the dust at Inanna's feet. The demons swirled around them. Walk on, Inanna, they said. We'll take Lulala. No, said Inanna. Lulal is my son and my leader among men. You cannot take Lual. Very well, the Gala said. We'll walk on further with you. We will go with you to the big apple tree in Uruk. In Uruk, by the big apple tree, Dumuzi sat on his magnificent throne, wearing his crown. When he saw Inanna, he didn't move. The Gala grabbed Dumuzi by the arms and by the thighs. They broke his reed pipe. Inanna fastened on Dumuzi the eye of death. She spoke against him the word of wrath. She uttered against him the cry of guilt. She said, take him. Take Dumuzi away. The Gala started to beat Dumuzi and gash him with axes. He wailed and raised his hands to Utu, the sun god. Utu, he said, I am your brother-in-law, the husband that you chose for Inanna. I brought milk and cream to your mother's house. I carried food to the holy shrine. You are a merciful God. Please let me escape. Turn my hands and feet into the hands and feet of a snake and help me slip away. Utu heard Dumuzi's prayer. He changed his hands to snake hands and his feet to snake feet, and the Gala could not hold him. Dumuzi escaped from his demons. This is the end of this portion of the myth, but there is more. What happens to Dumuzi is the subject of the next part of the story, called The Dream of Dumuzi, and I'll share it with you next time. Now, this descent of Inanna is the best known part of this myth. It's a fascinating story and a good pattern, a great set of images to navigate a personal experience of descent, to understand the transformative potential of these dark nights and the deaths that take place in our lives. I've always been fascinated by the beginning of the story, when Inanna opens her ear to the ground. The Sumerian words for ear and mind are the same. They both mean receptor of wisdom. What did Inanna hear, I wonder? What did she sense or want? What was the plan? Her turning suggests that an underworld journey is part of her process, and maybe part of a psychic process, a turning point in many lives, a necessity even. And I think this truth in the myth is bigger than the suggestion that some of us may one day find ourselves before those 7 gates. Let me elaborate on that. Inanna descends to the underworld, dies, and rises transformed. She has the experience, and we have the story, and so the pattern. And she is the goddess of heaven and earth, of life, abundance, the eros of the cosmos, and she has risen. That is, she has integrated death, taken in death as transformation, as regeneration. Ereshkigal is her sister, and they are linked by a commonality that can't be undone. Inanna is the cycle itself. Transformation, endings that are also beginnings. The cycle is the way it is, the foundation, the eternal truth, the imperative. The other gods say that it can't be done, and yet Inanna returns to the upper world with the underworld May. What is the underworld May? I don't know if this is a complete answer to that question, but it seems to contain the eye of death. In her book, Eruptions of Inanna, Justice, Gender, and Erotic Power, Judy Gran suggests that the eye of death is the courage of truth-telling. So when Inanna finds Dumuzi on his throne under the big apple tree, she tells him that it is his time to experience the inevitable. That's how it seems to me. The truth that none of us want to confront. Now, as I've said in early episodes in this series, my past reflections on Inanna's myth have come from a perspective of individual personal experience. That is, what does this myth reveal about the subjective experience of the underworld and transformation? How can this help us get through those times? This time, I'm thinking about this goddess and the processes that she embodies, processes in material and psychic life, transformation, as a collective experience. I see this as a time of collective initiation and transformation. And Inanna is a lens through which we can view what is underway in society, in a country, for me, the United States. One avenue or question that presents itself revolves around the sacrifices made at each one of the 7 underworld gates. Inanna is stripped of upper world identity and powers. So if this is happening to the United States, to all citizens together, what might be taken away? What comes first to my mind is ethics, a shared sense of propriety and civility, our achievements in art and science, the shared spaces and institutions of civic life, like our national parks and libraries, the Constitution and our civil rights, the respect and confidence of our allies and trading partners, our trust in each other, and perhaps our hubris and fantasy of goodness. The list could go on, and I'm sure that you can easily come up with your own, although it's difficult to limit the list to 7. Or consider for the various social groups of which you are a part. If you and the members of this group, a community or country, are passing through the 7 gates on your way to the Underworld and Ereshkigal's throne room, what might you be required to relinquish? What signifies your valued identity, your beauty and power and justice and harmony? Upon what do these rest? What roles, tools, shared conventions and rules, what assumptions and practices that comprise the consensus about the proper way to behave and how the world should operate? The value in this reflection, as I see it, is twofold. 1, to look at what's unfolding from a different perspective, a perspective that might yield useful insights and suggest more creative ways to respond. And 2, to locate these forms and attitudes in yourself and hold them up to the light. What has been their value? What could replace them? Can you make space for transformation? Maybe this, what I'm suggesting, feels heavy and terrible and scary. Utu, save me, right? I feel this. I feel this without the myth, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the chaos and the growing cascade of wrongs, of suffering, and also, the incredible commitment and courage welling up in so many people in so many places. The passion to defend and care and love and create. So much passion on all sides in every situation. Judy Gran writes, Inanna is wherever any kind of passion erupts. Do the passions we experience and witness point us toward Inanna? What does Inanna and her myth add? How can it help us? Can it help us find the courage to embrace the potential in this time? You know, one reason that I like to look at Inanna's larger myth cycle and not focus only on the descent is that you see the foreshadowing of her journey to the underworld in the earlier parts of the story. For example, in the first myth of Inanna and the Hlupu tree, her grandfather Enki attempts to get to the underworld. The underworld fights back with a storm, and the tree is torn from its roots. It floats down the river until Inanna finds it and plants it in her garden. Inanna goes where Enki and the other gods cannot. She goes because it is her destiny. It is her nature. She is the cycle itself. Back to the tree, Inanna's throne and bed are made from it. That is, she is made from it. Inanna is the tree, a world tree, a bridge between the realms. When Ninshubur goes to the gods for help, she describes Inanna as the fragrant boxwood. And as I discussed in the 2020 episodes I made about this myth, the creatures that take up residence in Inanna's tree can be seen as aspects of her shadow self, of what is unrecognized and requires integration for her to be whole. In another of the early stories, Inanna and Enki, the god of wisdom and sweet waters, You recall that Inanna receives the holy May from Anki. And among the May is descent and ascent to and from the underworld. And one other detail that I noticed, the holy May are unloaded at the lapis lazuli dock at Inanna's temple in Uruk. Lapis is her stone. She wears jewelry made from it, and again, Ninshipur describes the goddess as lapis that shouldn't be broken into small pieces by the stonecutter. Lapis is a rich blue stone long associated with royalty and deities. Lapis imparts wisdom, courage, truth, and it can help you forge a deeper relationship with yourself and your inner divinity. As I said earlier, Inanna is transformation, is endings that are also beginnings, is the cycle. I called the transformation that she undergoes and embodies an imperative, a necessity. I think the foreshadowing reveals the centrality of this theme, and that we can use another strong word to describe it, a stronger word, inevitable, unavoidable. When difficulties appear, when hard times and suffering besiege us, we wonder why. We wonder if it could be prevented. And one of the old arguments or beliefs that we hold revolves around our goodness and the notion that hardship is a punishment. This is one of those ideas sunk deep into our consciousness, that God rewards the worthy and bad things happen to bad people. You hear it in Dumuzi's prayer to Utu from thousands of years ago. Look, God, I did the right things. I did right by you, so protect me. You know this dynamic, the judgments and blaming, self-righteousness and guilt. Who is wrong? Who is the cause of the trouble? Who deserves to suffer? This is so hard to avoid, given our vulnerability in the world, our existential insecurities. And yet, it is also possible to see everything as part of the cycle of life. This doesn't mean that we don't take a moral stance or care, that we don't go, oh, well, it was going to happen. It doesn't mean that we don't take responsibility, nourish, or defend as needed. It's about suspending the justifications that allow us to imagine that we're not part of the situation, not part of the cycle, that it's not going to happen to us. What if what is happening, what distresses you the most right now, isn't a punishment or a reckoning or the result of some terrible past sin, but rather an inevitable part of an all-encompassing cycle that touches all of us and will bring forth new life and new form and opportunity, however challenging. Does this make a difference? You always have a choice of framework. What you choose must feel true. It must resonate with your experience. And no one knows what's underway or where this is going. There are no experts out there. Each one of us needs to find our own orientation, which may be part of the material undergoing radical change. In the words of Starhawk, she goes down as we go down. We follow her underground. Hail to Inanna, who died to become born. I have one more reflection to share with you, but first, let's pause to extend a big welcome to new email subscribers, Alex, Cindy, Geeta, Ahmet, Maria, Veronica, and Charles. Welcome to Myth Matters. If you're new to Myth Matters, I invite you to head over to the Mythic Mojo website. You'll find a transcript of this episode and links to past episodes. The search function on the website is handy in this regard. You'll also find information about Mythic mentorship and the creativity coaching that I offer. And you can also join the email list if you would like to receive links to new Myth Matters episodes in your inbox. I am so grateful for my amazing Patreon patrons and supporters on Bandcamp who provide financial and emotional psychic support to me in this endeavor. A shout out to Johnny for joining me on Patreon this month. Thank you so much, Johnny. I appreciate it. If you are finding something of value in this podcast and can afford to send a few dollars a month my way, I hope you will consider doing that. And thank you so much for your support of Myth Matters in whatever form makes sense for you. Now, let's consider the moments in Ereshkigal's throne room that result in Inanna's resurrection. The queen of the great below is moaning like a woman in childbirth. Two genderless creatures, embodiments of the in-between, of the both and, express empathy for her suffering, and she gives them what they wish for. The goddess Inanna, a bridge between the worlds, regeneration. Inanna is brought back to life through the water and food of life sent by Enki. We note that Ereshkigal also had water and the grain gift in her underworld domain. Inanna rises, but the judges of the underworld tell her no one ascends from the underworld unmarked. What is this marking? Loss. Someone dear to Inanna will be sent to the underworld. The fact that it seems to be Dumuzi's time doesn't mean that he won't be missed, and we'll talk more about that in the next episode. None of us live outside of the cycle. All of us will know loss. Empathy is what makes this bearable. Empathy, like pity, is a deep sympathy. But empathy is more than the ability to recognize and appreciate another's suffering. Empathy is the imaginative capacity to participate in another's feeling, to join. Pity is an emotion that one feels for the other. Empathy is a mutually shared experience that embraces the previously unknown and acknowledges that loss is something we share. In the last episode about the courtship between Inanna and Dumuzi, I said that Inanna is the eros of the cosmos. She's the force of any attraction, initiating a dance between the formed and the unformed, the manifest and the potential. The context there was the abundance and joy of this world, the creativity that is this life. And now we see this dance between the sisters, between the upper realms and the underworld. And empathy is the key, the catalyst, and the gift of that journey, the fruit of that dance. Inanna, allow me to sing your praises. If we have a better understanding of our need for myth and all that our old stories offer, we can live more satisfying lives. We can inhabit a better story and create a more beautiful, just, and sustainable world. And that's it for me, Catherine Savela, and Myth Matters. Take good care of yourself. And until next time, keep the mystery in your life alive.